Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly. Hope all of you had a happy holiday season, and I wish you all the best for a happy and prosperous 2020. On this episode, I'm lucky enough to have Braden Miller, the driving force behind Miller Time Flies and the 14-year-old fly fishing phenom from Glen Allen, Virginia. Before we move on to the interview, though, just want to give a shout out to this episode's sponsor, the 20th Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival. That event is this weekend, January 11th and 12th in Doswell, Virginia, and it's not too late to buy tickets and it's not too late to sign up for classes. Go to www.vaflyfishingfestival.org or check out our events page for the latest information on speakers, vendors, and classes. Also, it'd be great if you could leave us a review in iTunes, and please subscribe in the podcatcher of your choice so you don't miss an episode, or even better, check out our mobile apps. We have an app for Android phones as well as for iPhones. Just go to the app store of your choice. Now on to the interview. Well, Braden, welcome to The Articulate Fly.
Thank you for having me.
So, Braden, we have a tradition at The Articulate Fly, and I always ask all of my guests to share their earliest fishing memory. What's yours?
I would have to say my earliest fishing memory would be fishing for bluegill at my local pond with my dad. I'd be with a spin cast rod and just to learn on a hook with the bobber, and I would be able to go if I would stop bugging him about fishing almost every day and on the weekend.
Very cool. How old were you?
I remember as long as I could walk, I was fishing.
Well, there you go. So 2 or 3, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, and when did you move to the dark side of fly fishing?
About 8 years old, I started tying, and about a year and a half after that, I started casting and fishing and going around the ponds. And my grandmother gave me a bunch of old stuff that she didn't use anymore, tying material and old vise. And then she gave me a five-weight rod, corks coming off. And it was just something to start out with, and not much, but it was fun.
That's neat, and obviously you've accomplished a whole lot. I mean, you're 14 years old now. Who are some of the folks that have mentored you on your fly fishing journey?
Probably Lefty, Kreh, and Bob. I mean, everyone really has helped me along the way at the shows, asking people on the internet, just going on to YouTube, Instagram, asking questions, watching videos, or just walking around and listening. I would go around the shows and ask Lefty and Bob, and I'd show them my fly box and ask for question them what should I do better, what am I doing wrong, or they would just give me insight on something or just some material. Now I've got Blaine and Bob and everyone else at the shows, and if I have a question, I'd just ask Blaine or somebody.
That's neat. And were you intimidated when you were younger, walking up to Lefty Kreh? You were probably, 9 or 10 years old when that happened?
Yes, sir. Yeah. From the beginning, I was really intimidated. And then after talking to them for started off with 15, 20 minutes at the show. And then the next year it was 20 to 30. And the next year it was 40 minutes to an hour. And after every year, I would just get more in tune to talking to them more easier and better.
That's neat. And so were you talking to them every year at the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival, or were you seeing them on other places on the show circuit?
Yes, sir. Every year at the Virginia show, and it was that's the only show I went to when I was younger, and we never really traveled around, but now we go up and down the East Coast to Texas to New Jersey.
Very neat. Do you remember kind of the most helpful thing that Bob or Blaine or Lefty has told you?
Lefty with the different materials and casting. He really helped me with that, and less materials. Make sure you have a hook gap so you can actually hook the fish. And Blaine really with casting larger flies with heavier weight rods.
Well, that's neat. And how many days do you spend on the water a year?
I would say maybe 100 to 150 days a year. And I just try to be out there as much as I can. I can't really keep track.
Yeah, you probably, that sounds like you must have some water really close to the house so that you can literally come home from school and go fish.
Yes, sir, all the time.
What are those pieces of water?
I've got the Chickahominy River, different lakes and ponds around me, that bass, bluegill, crappie, catfish. The Chickahominy River has got gar, bowfin, largemouth bass. It's got catfish in it, all different types of sunfish. I've got the James River that we can ride to and go and fish in the boat for when the shad come up, and the striper run, shad run. We got largemouth. Upper James has muskie.
Very neat. Do you have a favorite species?
My favorite species, I got a lot. I'd probably say be between muskie, albies, and probably snakehead.
And what attracts you to those fish?
The muskie, just because they're so large, and like it's like the unicorn fish and fly fishing to me. And then the albies, because they pull hard. It's not super difficult to catch them, but there's still a challenge to them. And then there's also the snakehead that is called the frankenfish, or whatever you want to call it. That's invasive, but they're really cool. They wake up on the top water, and people call them ugly, but I think they're pretty pretty.
Very neat. Do you have a favorite place you like to fish?
Probably Atlantic Beach, Harper's Island area, where I would just go there with either friend Andrew Campbell or Jake Jordan. Every now and then we fish for albacore, go out and get mahi and mix up blackfin and albacore, fish the wrecks for large barracuda and amberjack and everything. And it's just a really cool place.
Yeah, very neat. I think I told you before we hopped on the call that I used to vacation there as a little kid, so I remember Atlantic Beach, I guess, really fondly.
Yes, sir.
And so it was interesting to me, to hear you say that you tied before you started fly fishing. And so how did you get into the fly tying game, and how did it happen? Most people start fishing and then they start tying. How did that all come together for you?
Well, my grandmother was just downsizing everything. She was moving to a smaller house, and she dropped off my first vice, a Thompson Model A, and then just clamped to the table a bunch of old material that was probably falling apart. It smelled like mothballs, and then I just started tying all the time. And I just tied every day, and first fly I tied was a woolly bugger, cut off the thread, the whole thing fell apart, and after that I just wanted to get better and just haven't stopped since.
Very neat. And what do you tie on today?
I tie on Norvise.
Got it. And how was that transition to tying from a Thompson A to tying on a true rotary vise for you?
It was a big jump, but I really like the Norvise. I feel like it's helped me a lot with many things, and there's a multitude of things I can tie on it, and I really like how I can just switch out the jaws and tie from a size 26 nymph to a 6/0, 7/0, 8/0 musky fly.
Got it. And any suggestions for folks to kind of how to get used to that rotary action? Because that's, kind of the biggest hurdle for people to make that shift. How did you do it?
I did what Tim O'Neill and Tyler O'Neill said to do, just put away the other vise for about like a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months, and just tie on the Norvise. And after a week, I really got used to the Norvise and how all of its functions worked and what to do with it.
Very neat. And who are some of the folks that taught you how to tie so well?
I would say Bob Popovich, Larry Clemens has helped me. Big influence would be Blaine, Kel Gallup, Mike Schultz, Russ Madden, and probably Gunnar Brammer, just from listening, watching them, going to their booths at the shows, and just asking questions. And Gunnar Brammer, he's on YouTube. He's one of the bigger guys that I've watched.
And are all of those guys kind of active on social media? So is that where a lot of times you're asking your questions, or do you just kind of save up all your questions and ask them a ton of questions every time you see them at a show or a club time?
They're all online and active. I'll either ask them on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or whatever it be. But a lot of times I just want to ask them in person, and they're, with any question, really, they'll answer to anything. Is just be nice.
Yeah, and it's funny too. I mean, I always say that I think, outdoors people are very generous people, but I think fly fishers are even more generous than the average outdoorsman.
Yes, sir. For sure.
Yeah, and so what's your favorite pattern to tie?
My favorite pattern would probably be a game changer, just because I don't like tying the same fly over and over and over again. So just switching out the shanks and doing a different size or a different color or whatever it be, a different material, multiple materials on this one little shank, and just building up to this one thing that'll swim like a real fish, or it'll last forever. But it'd probably be a game changer, the whole game changer platform.
Yeah, and is there a particular flavor of game changer ice cream that you like to tie? Is it hybrids or polar changers? Is there one that you really, really like to tie a lot?
The hybrid's been a big one for me now. I really like that one. It's so durable, it lasts up for everything. But there's also the micro game changer that can really, for any forage space around my area and any body of water that I fish around my area, I can tie up or either color it with a marker or just leave it white. And it works really great.
Yeah, no, I've got a few of those, and I'm looking forward to fishing for smallmouth with them because I think they're just going to crush it.
Oh yeah.
So you 8 years old, you start fly fishing. You were tying a little bit before that, and you now just recently rebranded and launched your commercial tying platform, Miller Time Flies. How did you get into the commercial tying game?
I first sold my first fly at 2017 Edison show, and I wasn't planning on selling it. I was just showing it around, and somebody asked to buy it, and I was like, maybe I can do something with this. And then at 2017 Lancaster show, I was just walking around, and then I showed my box around to people, and then they go, is that for sale? And I would just say either take it or buy it or whatever. And from that, I would say 2018 is when I got requests by friends and parents and everything, and people around me just asking to get flies and whatever, and then it's just now I'm doing all the shows and everything, selling flies, and it just built up from that one show, and I really like it. I like giving flies to people, and once they get the flies or whatever and they go out fishing with it, they send me pictures, and it's really cool to see what my flies have done and where they've been.
Very neat. And do you tie, anything people ask you to tie, or do you just try to kind of stay in that streamer family?
I mainly tie just streamers, large articulated streamers, game changers, like I said, and mainly the streamer thing. But if it's like a special request, I can do it.
Very cool. Just to give folks an idea, how many dozen flies do you think you tie a year?
Oh, I don't even know. I really don't know. Probably. I honestly don't know. No,
that's fine. I can believe it. The impression I get is that you're just absolutely eaten up with fly fishing, and so you're just, you're fishing, you're tying, and you're just cranking out flies and just having a great time.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, and the neat thing, right, is you've got a huge list of brands that you represent, and you're 14, right?
Yes, sir.
So, tell us a little bit about how you broke into the pro staff game, right? Because, there are people that are a whole lot older than you are that don't have nearly the number of brands under their umbrella that you do. How did that happen?
It first really started at the Virginia show where I tied on. I was just walking around like I always did. And this year I was just showing around my boxes again. And at the Norvise booth, Tyler saw one of the flies and he really liked it. And Ken asked me if I wanted to tie on the Norvise. And I'd never really seen a bite spike ever before, something new. And it was really cool. I said sure, and I jumped on the vise. And I really enjoyed it. And then out of nowhere, I got asked if I wanted to do an interview, a video interview, while I was tying for the youth that's coming into fly fishing, and it was from TFO. And what I didn't know was it was Alex Colonna, somebody with TFO, doing the interview, and then it was one of the videographers video with Rick Post outside of the whole group around me as I was doing the video. And then I got asked what rod I cast on my large streamers, articulated streamers with. Said the TFO BBK 8 weight, and then I got asked who that was outside of that group, and I got asked. I said I don't know, and then it was Rick Pope. They said, "Do you know who Rick Pope is?" I said, "The CEO of TFO Rods." And then from that, I went to the Lancaster show, just walking around downstairs, and then I met Blaine, and then out of nowhere, Steve Monahan, somebody with TFO, asked me. I hear you're going to be part of my youth TFO ambassador team. For some reason, I guess he wasn't supposed to say that, and somebody hit him on the shoulder and asked him why spoiled the surprise. So from there, I went from TFO and then Norvise ambassadors, and Norvise is like a family to us. They're always so awesome, and we just hang out all the time with them and everyone else.
Well, that's great. And so you part of the TFO family and the Norvise family. How did all those other brands come together for you?
Just using their products and just either tagging them in a post or whatever, just using them around. Over the couple of years, people in charge of proteins or whatever, they just, like recently, J.S. Stocker, the material company, and they just sell a bunch of tying stuff and fishing stuff. They just asked me to do launch the youth ambassador program for their tying and materials.
Yeah, that's awesome. As a matter of fact, I know this month they've got their annual hook special, so I've got to get my order in.
Yes, sir.
And obviously they're not, you're starting, junior ambassador programs for brands. I mean, there are not a lot of guys your age that are ambassadors for the sport. What do you find the biggest challenge of being a brand ambassador to be? I
try to just make sure I'm wearing their products or using their products, or just when I'm at like tying at shows or something and I'm using the products and I get a question, I'll let them use it, borrow it, let them try it out, or I'll just tell them a little bit about it, show them where they can get it. And I like to represent people and represent good brands that are really trying to do good things for the whole community.
Yeah, I saw your Rose Farm pictures from yesterday, and I saw you had tagged all your brands in your social media stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Did you have a good day on the water?
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. We got probably 22 trout.
There you go.
Browns, rainbows, and my grandfather got out again that day and got his first couple of fish on a dry fly. So that was pretty cool.
Well, that's awesome. And one thing I wanted to ask you too is, since you're 14, do you find that folks in the industry sometimes treat you like a kid instead of respecting you for your angling abilities?
I feel like in the beginning, it kind of was when I was 8 or 9. It didn't really matter what my casts looked like or what the flies looked like. It was just some kid at the pond. Today, I can go somewhere fishing with some of the greatest fly fishermen. They always treat me like just one of the guys, and it's really cool and amazing to see that.
Yeah, that's really neat. And, obviously, I'm really interested. One of the reasons I do the articulate fly is I'm trying to create an online community for anglers and to get people involved in the sport. And, obviously I'm a lot older than you are, but what suggestions do you have for us old guys to help get younger anglers into the sport?
Just getting your kids outside, grandkids, your kids outside and off the video games. The video games are just so addictive. I can see that with my younger brothers and everyone else that I go to school with. And go to just shows and show them around everything. Take them outside fishing, go to ponds, go to different places, not just the worm and hook on the with a bobber, or just just do something different. Or when I do teach them fly tying or something, or just teach them the fly tying class, I'll do a clawsome minnow, a bully bugger, or the greeny weenie. Just something it's easy, basic, and they can just get off to the clean slate working with the simpler things. At the Virginia show, I'll be doing a youth or beginner fly tying class on the first day and the second day. Just $25 entry fee, and you got the materials and the Norvise and everything that you need to tie up those flies.
Yeah, that's neat. And I'll put a link to that, Braden, in the show notes for this episode. So all people will have to do is click on it and they can go register for the class. You know, you were talking earlier about the pull of technology, and I have a 17-year-old and 11-year-old son. Did you just never succumb to video games and you always wanted to be outside, or did you have to make a conscious decision to put the Xbox or the PlayStation away and get outdoors?
I've always played video games. It's just I used to play them all the time, and now it's like maybe once a week I'll play for about 45 minutes to an hour, just after everything else is done, schoolwork and homework, and just flies are tied for shows and making sure everything's good and done.
Very cool. And I know you've been active in trying to help your fellow middle school students get involved with the sport. What are you doing at your school?
I started a fishing club last year, and we also did Trout in the Classroom. So first year we kind of struggled last year with my whole foot problem, and then just everything that could go wrong happened. And we ended up releasing 23 brook trout, and this year we currently have about 180 fry and they're all doing great, large, healthy, and they readily eat.
That's awesome. Is that for 180 fry? Is that more than one tank, or can you get them all in one tank?
That is 150 gallon tank.
That's awesome.
Oh, 150 gallon tank. Sorry.
Got it. With the chiller on it. That's a really neat program. And I know too that you're super involved with Project Healing Waters. How did you get involved with those guys?
I was introduced to Project Healing Waters from David Folkert and Julie Caton and Duke Davis at the 2017 Edison show. They just discussed to me about volunteering in the 2-fly tournament held at Rose River. I ended up doing the Rose River 2-fly tournament that same year or the last year, and I also participated in the time marathon, and recently that I just got done telling you about the Atlantic Beach False Albacore and Redfish Festival with Project Healing Waters. That was pretty cool to watch everyone just go out and have fun.
Very neat. And can you tell us a little bit more what you do when you're not attending those events, or what you do for the vets while you're at those events?
I'll show some of the vets how to tie some flies. I'll be best to help make sure the vets and the boat captains had something for breakfast and lunch boxes. And I'll just teach them how to tie and teach them all sorts of things that I've done and what I've learned.
That's really neat. And, obviously, so, you're in school, and I know you're doing really well and you're really busy there. You're fishing a ton, a whole lot more than I am. And you've got a commercial time business, and, you're all over going to fly fishing shows. How do you keep it all straight?
I use any extra class time to work on any homework or study. And I just have to keep high B's and A's so I can do all of this. As soon as I get home, I have to finish homework and work on different projects and everything. I get probably 1 to 2 projects a week for my advanced high school classes. I'm an 8th grader taking freshman classes. And once I'm done with everything, I'm allowed to start tying and doing everything else I need to get done for shows and go fishing. Got
it. And what time does your mom make you turn the lights out on a school night?
When I'm finished.
Oh, well, good for you. That's a good deal. And so obviously you're really young. As you kind of think forward into, becoming an adult, how do you want fly fishing to fit into your life?
Fishing will always be in my blood. I feel like I'll always have something to do. That fishing will always have something to do with my life wherever I'm at. And I plan to teach the future fly fishing and my nieces and nephews as of right now, I plan on being the cool uncle.
Yeah, that's a great job if you can get it for sure. What do you want to accomplish in the sport over your lifetime?
I want to be I just want to go own my own boat, have my guiding license. When I'm older, I aspire to be like TFO staff, advisory staff, the Lefty, Kreh, Bob, Jake Jordan, Blaine, everyone. I would love to help shape the future of fly fishing and just bring more youth into the sport.
That's really great. And, obviously we're in early January, and we've been talking about the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival that's going to be January 11th and 12th in Doswell. But, you're going to be on the road a lot the next 2 or 3 months. Why don't you let folks know where they can find you?
January 24th and 25th, I'll be at the Edison, New Jersey Fly Fishing Show in between the Norvise and the TFO booths. During both days, I'll just be bouncing back and forth. February 21st and 22nd, I'll have my own booth at Lefty Kreh's Tie Fest. March 3rd and 8th, you can find me tying flies in the Norvise booth and maybe catch me at Catch Can Net too. On the 7th, and March 14th, I'll be at the one-day show in the Maryland Fly Fishing and Tackle Show. Wrapping up the show season, I'll be in Plano, Texas, March 21st and 22nd. The Texas Fly Fishing and Brew Fest on my own booth.
Very cool. And then it'll be time for the Easter Bunny, so that'll keep you pretty busy for a while.
Oh, yes, sir.
Well, listen, before I let you go, Braden, why don't you let folks know where they can find you on the internet so they can follow you and maybe order flies from you and just kind of generally keep track of all the cool things you're doing?
My Instagram is Miller Time Flies, capital M, capital T, capital F. My Facebook is just Braden Miller. My website is up and running. I'll just keep it in mind. It's still under construction. I still have to get everything done for it, put the flies up and everything, but it's almost done. Fantastic.
Well, Braden, I really appreciate you getting up this morning to talk to me while you're still out on vacation for the holidays, and I look forward to seeing you in Virginia in a little bit over a week.
Thank you so much for having me. It was awesome.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. It's a lot of fun. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Again, shout out to this episode's sponsor, the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival. You owe it to yourself, folks, if you're within striking distance of Doswell, Virginia on January 11th or 12th to drop by and check out the event. Just go to www.vaflyfishingfestival.org for all the information you need. And again, please subscribe and leave us a review in iTunes, or even better, check out our mobile phone apps. Tight lines, everybody.